Part 1, Chapter 1, Who We Really Are. Before exploring why we visit Earth, an important concept to understand is who we are. The quick answer might seem as close as our reflection in the mirror, but the person we see looking back is not us. So who are we? Eckhart Tolle, the author of The Power of Now, said he discovered the answer to that question during one of his darkest moments. He had been living in a state of almost continuous anxiety, interspersed with thoughts of suicide, when he had an epiphany. While thinking, "I cannot live with myself any longer," he questioned who the separate I was that could no longer live with his self. At that moment, Tolle realized humans are made up of two individual parts or personalities. The first of these parts, his self, was the depressed personality inside his brain. The second personality, the I, who could no longer tolerate the brain's depressed state, was a separate mind or consciousness. The invisible us. Tolle discovered what British philosopher Gilbert Ryle referred to as the ghost in the machine. Tolle's depressed brain was the machine, and his criticizing mind was the ghost. Science calls this ghost mind consciousness, but has yet to identify its location in humans. Spiritual people call this ghost the soul. This soul is who we really are. To understand the partnership between your human body and the invisible soul that is you, imagine your body with its brain as something separate from you. Think of that body as a mechanical costume you climb into, and its brain's personality as the character role that comes with that costume. It is similar to Broadway actor Ted Ross, who starred as the cowardly lion in the musical The Wiz. To prepare for his role, he climbed inside a furry body costume and hid his identity with face makeup to play that part. Ross was inside the costume and behind the makeup of the lion like you are, as a soul inside your human. When Ross looked in the mirror, all he saw was the cowardly lion. While in character, his behaviors were controlled by the bashful lion from the story. As long as he stayed in character, Ted Ross was virtually invisible inside the costume, much like you are inside your human. Before birth, we souls climb inside humans, like Ross climbed inside the lion costume. We connect to our human's brain so we can experience life as our human does. Once we climb inside that human costume and connect with its brain, we are along for the ride. While hidden within the human costume, we souls can try to influence the brain's personality by being a nagging conscience or by whispering encouragement into it. But the human brain has a mind of its own. Unless we are good at convincing that mind to change, or we find a brain that is open-minded and willing to do things differently than its human nature, we will have little effect. This can be frustrating if we hope to steer our humans to do something life-changing. A great example of an open-minded human is Jen Bricker. At birth, her soul climbed inside a human costume that didn't have legs. Fortunately, Bricker's brain personality was open to overcoming this physical challenge. From an early age, Bricker's soul partnered with her brain and provided an inner drive that motivated her to pursue the unlikely activity of gymnastics. Through that cooperative partnership, Jen Bricker became the Illinois state tumbling champion and played softball and basketball. Eventually, she became an acrobat and aerialist, performed in Britney Spears' circus tour, became a motivational speaker, and wrote a New York Times best-selling book. Her life could have gone very differently if her human's brain had chosen depression instead of determination. You can read more about her in her inspiring book, Everything is Possible: Finding the Faith and Courage to Follow Your Dreams. United but separate. When we partner with a human, we connect to their brain and experience every thought, emotion, reaction, and interaction they experience. We become so integrated with our human's brain that we easily believe this human costume is who we are. If we and the human were one, however, then we could never separate. But we do separate when our human dies. If you see a ghost, it's a soul that has left its human. There are other times we might temporarily separate from our human, such as during a near-death experience, NDE. This happens when our human experiences severe trauma and their body stops working. Within a few minutes of this kind of trauma, we typically disconnect from our human and leave their body. If our human's body and brain start up again, we can immediately re-enter and reconnect. Regardless of where we traveled when we left the body, we can sense the revival of our human because we retain a connection to them. This connection is referred to as the silver cord. In 2003, the BBC released a documentary about near-death experiences in which they showed an interview with Vicky Noratuk, who was blind from birth. She said throughout her life she had never seen anything. No light, no shadows, not even black. Even her dreams were void of visual impressions. In her book titled The Day I Died, The Brain, the Mind, and Near-Death Experiences, Noratuk details her NDE from a vehicle accident. She was taken to Harborview Medical Center and was confused and frightened because she was able to see for the first time. What she witnessed was a bird's-eye view of a human body lying on a stretcher and medical personnel frantically working on it. She could hear their comments about not being able to revive it. She thought to herself, "Is that my body down there?" She said she felt detached from that body, and it was wonderful to be out of it and free. There is a freedom felt when we leave the human body because we are made up of pure energy. The human we inhabit is made up of bones, muscles, tissue, and fluids that give it substantial weight and can feel confining to us. We don't realize how restricting it is until we experience the freedom of being released from it. We don't have to wait for a trauma to separate from our human. We can temporarily leave our human's body during an out-of-body experience, or OBE. Souls can intentionally leave their human's body when it is not distressed or dying. If our human partner agrees to this separation, we can travel around while our human is sleeping or meditating. Outside the body, we are free to explore the universe using a method of travel known as astral travel or astral projection. After living on Earth for a while in a human, we often get accustomed to feeling human. When we separate from our human, our soul mind may retain human feelings or remnants of humanness. We separate from our human, but our experiences continue to be colored by our human's perceptions, beliefs, and memories. In his book, Imagine Heaven, John Burke relates a story about someone who left their human host but still felt they were human. Burke talks about George Ritchie, an enlisted soldier who planned to catch a train the next day for his first day at medical school. Around midnight, he was rushed to the hospital after waking up with a 106-degree fever from double pneumonia. While at the military hospital getting an X-ray, he passed out. The next thing he remembered was jumping out of bed and wondering where he was. He saw someone lying in the bed he had just left, which confused him. But he remembered he needed to make that morning train. His soul had separated from his human, but it still felt like it was human. Frantically, Richie's soul went into the corridor to find someone who could explain where he was. He spotted a military sergeant walking down the corridor and tried to speak to him, but the sergeant said nothing and kept walking toward him. Richie yelled at the sergeant to look out just before the man walked right through him. Richie paused for a second, then focused again on catching that train. He left the building and was able to fly to a nearby town, which he found to be an incredible feat. He saw a man walking to a cafe and approached him to ask for directions. Again, he was ignored by the stranger. Richie reached out to touch the man's shoulder, but his hand went through the man. That's when Richie's feelings of being a human started to fade, and he considered his human might have died. Richie was brought back to life 9 minutes after dying in that hospital bed and went on to write about his experience in a book titled Return from Tomorrow. The Real Us. In referring to the real us, I hesitate to use the word soul because of the many misconceived notions people have been taught about that word. Nonetheless, I will continue to use that term because as you learn more about the real you through modern spiritual literature, you'll hear the word soul used to refer to the real us. I've capitalized the word soul because I want it to stand out as something special, as described in this book, rather than risking it getting lumped into the generic meaning of the overused soul word from everyday language. Amnesia. It can be difficult to remember that the real us is an invisible soul, because when we visit Earth to live inside humans, we adopt amnesia about the experiences and knowledge we've gained outside of earthly life. This amnesia is referred to as the veil or shroud of forgetfulness. Adopting amnesia when we enter Earth is similar to walking into a quiet, darkened theater designed to isolate those who enter from distractions happening outside the theater. Our amnesia is intended to enhance our earthly experience by helping us focus only on what is happening in the here and now. Amnesia helps us view our new life solely through our human senses and brain, and this helps us immerse ourselves completely in the earthly life we are about to live. In her book, The Forever Angels, PMH Atwater documented the story of a woman named Vicky. As a toddler, Vicky's soul easily disconnected from her human body when her father playfully tickled her. She recalled being able to leave the toddler's body and fly around the room. She remarked that when she left that body, her amnesia stopped. She no longer felt like a baby. She felt older, wiser, and much more knowledgeable. Amnesia, along with the limited viewpoint of your human, may make it difficult for you to imagine you might be a separate individual. Discovering this separateness can be difficult on Earth because humans typically learn their truths from other humans called scientists. Yet the existence of the soul and its life outside of humans are not concepts mainstream science has investigated, identified, tested, or accepted. It is only when humans take the initiative to explore ideas outside of conventional science, like religion and spirituality, that they may discover we entities exist separate from them. Without science to explain what souls are, and with fear-based religions distorting the idea of souls, where is the best place for us to learn the truth? Reading spiritual literature helps, but most tend to be esoteric, written in jargon aimed at a small audience with a deep interest in such things. This type of literature is not good for someone looking to be introduced to the concept of the soul. Fortunately, there is another way we can learn about souls. It's through evidence gathered by unconventional research. One doctor who had collected decades of evidence about the soul was Dr. Michael Newton. He had a doctorate in counseling psychology, was a certified master hypnotherapist, and was a member of the American Counseling Association. He never set out to learn about souls. When he began his practice, he considered himself a skeptic and a strict man of science. In his therapy practice, Dr. Newton did regression therapy, where he hypnotized patients to relax their brains. In this relaxed state, Dr. Newton would question the human memory about earlier experiences in hopes of learning the roots of what was troubling his patients. That's how he stumbled upon the discovery of the soul. During one session, while his patient was under deep hypnosis, Dr. Newton discovered he was talking with someone other than the personality of his relaxed patient's brain. Being a man of science, the idea of talking to some entity other than his human patient was foreign to him. However, he continued to experiment with this deep hypnosis technique and reached these non-human entities more and more during therapy sessions. Dr. Newton realized his rigid scientific views were causing him to resist admitting what he was observing. Once he accepted that deep hypnosis made him able to bypass the human brain and reach another entity within humans, he discovered the soul. Over 35 years, he interviewed approximately 7,000 patients and compiled bits of information from these entities about what the soul is, where it lives, and what its existence is like outside the human body and away from Earth. We will discuss what he learned in the following chapters. You can read more in his books, Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. The following is some of what he learned. Eternal energy. Everything in the universe is made up of energy. This includes the soul. In physics, the first law of thermodynamics states that energy may change form, but never dies. This means the energy that makes up the soul doesn't die. When a human body stops functioning completely, it is buried, and its energy changes form as it decomposes. The soul energy that inhabited that human continues to exist outside of that dead body in its same energetic form. If the soul energy chooses to partner with another human to experience a different life, it is known as reincarnation. One place that conducts extensive studies on reincarnation is the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies, founded by Dr. Ian Stevenson. They have investigated and documented 2,600 cases of reincarnation and have published several books on the subject. One thing they've learned through their research is when a soul connects itself to a new human, it brings with it all the skills and knowledge it gained from its previous lives. The amnesia that a soul adopts when entering Earth may have it forget where or how it got these skills and knowledge, but the soul's talent is still remembered. If a soul's new human partner allows it to express itself, someone like the soul of Mozart could enter another human and express its musical talents through that other human. When this happens, the world gets an incredible musical prodigy, very much like Alma Deutscher. Miss Deutscher played piano at 2 years old and violin at age 3, composed her first sonata at 5, completed a short opera at 7, and at 9 she wrote a concerto for violin and orchestra. At 10 years old she wrote a full-length opera, and at the age of 12 she premiered her first piano concerto. Renowned composers such as Zubin Mehta and Simon Rattle consider her gifted. Her skills are unworldly, but not too unusual if you consider them in the light of reincarnation. Memories. Something else that becomes an integral part of us is the memories we gain from sharing the life experiences of the humans we inhabit. Normally, amnesia suppresses memories of our previous lives so we can have a fresh start with a new human, but sometimes that amnesia fails. When that happens, our past life memories get added to our human's brain when we connect to it. Dr. Jim B. Tucker, an associate psychiatry professor at the UVA Medical Center's Division of Perceptual Studies, has documented thousands of children whose amnesia failed and who accurately recalled previous lives. One of the most famous is James Leininger. From the age of 2 years and 4 months, he would say, "Airplane crash on fire," and then slam his toy plane into the coffee table. He also had nightmares where he repeatedly talked about an airplane fire and said, "Little man can't get out." He talked about the plane being a Corsair that flew off of an aircraft carrier called the Natoma. At first, his parents thought their son had a wild imagination because they didn't believe in reincarnation, but his nightmares and relentless telling of the story made them investigate further. They learned that the details of his memories about dying in a plane crash matched the real-life death of 21-year-old airman James M. Houston, Jr. from Pennsylvania. He was stationed on the Natoma Bay aircraft carrier near Japan, and his Corsair fighter plane was shot down by the Japanese. There is a book published about Leininger titled Soul Survivor, The Reincarnation of a World War II Fighter Pilot. Sometimes memories of shocking events experienced by the soul from previous lives don't get shared with their human's conscious brain. They simmer in the human's subconscious, hiding below the surface. Sylvia Browne, author of Past Lives, Future Healing, called these a soul's cell memory. She calls it this because when a soul partners with a new human, the soul doesn't share those traumatic memories with the human brain on a conscious level. Instead, those submerged memories sit in the human's subconscious and affect the human on a cellular level. These memory remnants can affect our human's behaviors and attitudes. If in a past life a soul spent every day being hungry, bringing these submerged memories into the next life may influence our human to overeat as a response to those subconscious hunger memories. In a past life, the soul may have been in a human that was physically weak and bullied. In the next life, that soul may partner with a larger human who feels driven to pursue strength training or bodybuilding. These cell memories cause physical effects on humans that normally can't be explained by doctors. These effects sometimes manifest themselves minimally as birthmarks, or more seriously as fears, phobias, chronic joint and muscle pains, or breathing and digestive problems. We will talk more about cell memory in Chapter 7. Emotions. We souls have feelings and emotions. While partnered with a human, these feelings are affected by the emotional experiences our human endures. These experiences register in our human's brain, are stored in our memory, and contribute to forming our personalities. Ideally, as we go through experiences with our human host, our personalities grow in emotional understanding, wisdom, and love. But the path to gaining those valuable traits can be bumpy. Sometimes our human's primitive nature gravitates towards selfish, undisciplined activities. If we are young souls without the skill to influence the behavior of our human hosts, we may watch helplessly as our humans perpetrate abuse, rape, or murder. These experiences can traumatize us. Other times, the emotions of inexperienced souls get wounded when their humans suffer neglect, heartbreak, or abandonment in their relationships. The traumatic impacts on our emotions follow us from life to life until we learn to heal them with love and understanding. This healing comes from gaining a greater love for ourselves, which helps us insulate from the emotional impact of such negative experiences. Eventually, when we become skilled at influencing our human partners, we learn to avoid these traumas by helping our humans make more positive choices and resist negative behaviors and responses. With each carefully chosen life, we learn how to emotionally separate ourselves from our humans' feelings and help them to make more productive and loving choices. Even though we can separate ourselves emotionally from our humans, we never finish a life without being somewhat affected by the difficult experiences we share while we are partnered with them. Maturity levels. Souls never age, but soul personalities grow and mature with each life we live. We start as young, immature souls and go through hundreds, even thousands of life experiences, facing a wide range of emotions and events to gain wisdom, love, and compassion for everyone and everything we encounter. Souls who have matured by going through many diverse and impactful life experiences are referred to as old souls. This means they've seen a lot and have a love and understanding that is obvious to those around them. We will talk more about soul development later. Unique personality and egos. We souls have a unique personality that makes us distinctly us. It is as distinct as a human's fingerprint and is sometimes called our energy signature. Our human also has a unique personality, and at some point it develops another aspect of that personality called an ego. Egos develop early in humans. It is an underlying aspect of the human personality that can influence a human's behavior and attitudes. Egos are driven by a strong desire for self-preservation and survival. Its core belief is a negative scarcity mindset, which believes there is never enough of what it desires. An ego's worldview is predominantly driven by fear, self-centeredness, greed, pride, social status, and power. As human egos grow stronger, they can influence humans to become obsessed with desires for more money, sex, fancy cars, big houses, higher status, and power over others. The ego is all about me, me, me. Soul personalities lean toward positivity, love, kindness, compassion, and generosity. We have an abundance mindset and believe there is plenty for everyone. We understand the emptiness of pursuing selfish desires and how any pleasure gained by chasing those desires is only temporary. We know anything gained through loving actions will resonate forever. The soul is all about we. It's a fine balancing act for us to coexist with our human's ego. Most times, souls partner with a cooperative human that has a manageable ego, but there are times when a human's ego may be stubbornly domineering and cause a struggle with its soul partner. The Christian biblical writer Paul of Tarsus, in his letter to the Romans, wrote about this struggle between his soul and the evil nature of his ego that he referred to as sinful nature. He lamented that there was a war going on within his mind between his sinful nature and the inner being that delighted in God's law. Paul realized the separateness between him as a soul and the negative nature of his human's ego. When you see people who are hurtful, grumpy, sarcastic, cynical, angry, cruel, abusive, belittling, inconsiderate, selfish, or mean, you are seeing the wounded nature of their ego dominating their behavior. When you see loving, compassionate, generous, kind, positive personalities, you're seeing a human that is mainly influenced by the personality of its soul. Powerful energy. The energy that makes up a soul can create amazing things to happen. As a soul, our energy is so powerful that when we come to Earth, we typically only bring about 25% to 30% of our potential energy. If we plan to participate in a particularly challenging role on Earth, then we may bring 30% to 40%. We try not to come to Earth with too much energy because our soul's powerful energy can easily overwhelm our human. The choice of how much energy we bring to Earth is always ours. Sometimes immature souls bring too much energy to Earth. You can recognize humans with these young, energetic souls because their overabundance of energy feeds the desires of their humans' egos. Their humans brag about their huge houses, exotic cars, and how they make obscene amounts of money. It is the power of the excessive soul energy that makes their wealth creation so easy. As we mature as souls, we learn how much energy to bring and how to redirect our humans' selfish priorities to steer them toward more generous and loving relationships. Once we get proficient at influencing the humans we inhabit, we don't need as much energy. In those lives, we bring just enough to help our humans live humble lives of love, compassion, and service to others. There are times when mature souls may want to bring a larger amount of energy, because the humans we are going to inhabit will present us with serious physical or mental challenges. Whenever a human we inhabit has a seriously damaged brain, that extra soul energy can supplement the damaged brain. Typically, these humans don't have strongly developed egos to block the expression of the soul. When the soul has free rein to use its energy without being blocked by the human ego, the world gets people with savant syndrome, like Leslie Lemke, who had severe physical defects that required having his eyes removed. He could not stand until he was 12 years old. At age 16, he sat down at the piano, and without any training, he perfectly played Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1. He'd heard it for the first time earlier on a TV program. Sometimes the brain of a savant happens when the ego gets dislodged by an accident, as in the case of Orlando Sorrell. At 10 years old, he was playing baseball and got hit in the head with the ball. After that, he was able to perform complex calendar calculations. He is currently in his 50s and can accurately tell you the weather from any of his days since the accident. Suicidal thoughts. Quite often, we inhabit a human who presents us with physical or mental challenges, or who puts us in life situations that are emotionally distressing and exhausting. When we are young souls who haven't gained the coping skills necessary to help our human handle these emotions, we may get to a point where we think about disconnecting from that human and cutting our visit short through suicide. As you will learn in later chapters, the reason you are on Earth is that you purposely chose to play a challenging role that was designed to help you mature. Picking these challenges is similar to Broadway actor Bradley Cooper, who chose the physical and mentally taxing role of Joseph Merrick in the play The Elephant Man. It was exhausting for him to contort his body for the role. While doing it, he may have wished he could stop his performance and walk away from the role, but he persevered. Once he completed his commitment to play the role, he admitted what a wonderful growing experience it was and how he'd do it again. After resting from playing the character on Broadway, he agreed to do it again in London. Cutting our visits short because we can't stand the uncomfortable situation wastes all the effort we put into getting to those challenging lessons in our earthly lives. There are valuable lessons we can learn by working through troubling circumstances. We will learn in upcoming chapters how we purposely plan difficult situations to help us experience the important lessons we've chosen to learn in this school called Earth. Although there is no punishment for ending your life prematurely, especially in the case of those suffering from a terminal illness, the souls we encounter when we return home after suicide won't be applauding our actions. In Case 13 in his book Journey of Souls, Dr. Newton spoke to a soul whose previous human incarnation ended in suicide. The soul related the experience when it left its human and met with spiritual beings. The soul was apprehensive because it had to account for why it ended its earthly visit prematurely. Dr. Newton asked the soul if the apprehension was because there was punishment involved. The soul shut down that line of thinking immediately and said, "No, no, there is no such thing here," as punishment. The soul told Dr. Newton that the spiritual beings would simply be disappointed because of her premature return. The soul said it too was disappointed by its choice of suicide because now it had to return to Earth and deal with the same lessons again in a different life. Another soul, Case 29, admitted to Dr. Newton they had died of suicide in a previous life. It happened when that soul played a young woman who became pregnant out of marriage. The woman was afraid the pregnancy would bring shame to her and her parents, who would likely be ostracized by the community because of this. She killed herself to avoid all this potential pain. As soon as this soul returned home and saw the bigger picture of that life, she regretted not trying harder to discourage her human from suicide. At home, the spiritual beings showed her several alternates her life could have taken. One was where she and her parents moved to a new neighborhood and told people that her husband died shortly after she became pregnant. Believing the child was conceived within a marriage, the community would have welcomed her family. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. There are many directions your earthly visit can go besides what might appear as your only choice. If you contemplate ending this life, pause for a moment and reach out to people. If you don't have family or friends, suicide support is available around the world. Cutting your earthly visit short only postpones a challenging lesson. In the future, you will continue to face that lesson until you learn it. You've already put a lot of time and energy into this visit. Don't waste all your effort. Our internal drive. Our soul personalities have underlying characteristics built into them that drive how we want to approach life. Whenever our humans let us influence their lives, we see these underlying drives shape their careers. According to the book Messages from Michael, author and channeler Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough says there are 7 different types of internal drives or roles in essence. Typically, one is predominant throughout a soul's existence. Here are the 7 roles of essence or soul personality traits. Artisan. These souls are creative and inventive. They look to discover new ways of seeing the world. They create original works from art to engineering. You will often find them in humans who are dancers, designers, artists, poets, engineers, architects, athletes, and inventors. King. These souls are born leaders. They have strong personalities and are assertive and focused. They hold others to high standards and are skilled delegators. King souls solve problems well. These souls frequently inhabit humans who become politicians, presidents, CEOs, managers, or charismatic leaders. Priest. These souls are driven to make the world a better place. They encourage others to succeed and inspire others to make positive changes. They typically pick a human where they can become trainers, psychologists, consultants, and preachers. Sage. These souls communicate wisdom, beauty, love, harmony, and philosophy. They love sharing what they know. They love attention and are charismatic. These types of souls are likely to be in teachers, salespeople, public speakers, and musicians. Scholar. These souls seek knowledge and have endless curiosity. They love learning and tend to be naturally patient and calm. These souls are typically found in professors, analysts, writers, researchers, reporters, and scientists. Server. These souls are helpful, caring, kind, sweet, humble, and tend to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. They place the needs of others in front of their own and tend to identify with the sufferings of others. These souls are usually in doctors, homemakers, restaurant servers, diplomats, and social workers. Warrior. These souls embody courage, loyalty, and determination. They love overcoming challenges to achieve goals and dreams. They like the rewards of working hard. Their life is a constant but rewarding struggle. These souls are generally found in soldiers, police officers, miners, truck drivers, or athletes. Gender. The universe seeks balance. This concept of balance is represented in the Taiji 2 symbol, which shows an equal balance of both dark, yin, and light, yang. The Taiji 2 symbol shows that each side has part of the other within it, to demonstrate that even a dark experience, like a failure, can include a light opportunity to learn more about success. Masculinity and femininity are also included in these universal balanced opposites and can be a characteristic of souls. As souls, we don't have a specific gender and can play both masculine and feminine roles throughout our many earthly lives. We decide which gender personality feels most comfortable when choosing a human, and we can select a different gender personality each time we partner with another human. Souls can express gender traits anywhere along the spectrum from very masculine to very feminine. Souls expressing femininity in a human partnership tend to influence their human's personality with traits like gentleness, appreciation of beauty, ease at expressing emotions, being collaborative, and nurturing. Souls expressing masculinity tend to influence their human partner relationship by adding traits like independence, directness, dominance, assertiveness, being single-focused, and being disciplined. A soul can choose to express masculinity when partnering with a female human or femininity when it inhabits a male human. Sometimes, if the human is not physically the same gender as the one chosen by the soul, a conflict can occur between the human personality and the soul's personality. In these cases, the human may want to change their gender so it is more in line with the one influenced by their soul. As we go forward, keep in mind the separation between souls and human costumes. Remember Ted Ross inside the Cowardly Lion costume, and think of people you see as your fellow souls inside those human costumes trying out character roles. Later we'll discuss how different roles help souls grow in love, wisdom, and compassion. This book is written to speak to the real you. For the remainder of this book, when I talk about you, we, us, or soul, I'm referring to who we really are. When I talk about humans, bodies, or people, I'm referring to that human costume with a personality we inhabit on Earth. Sometimes I may use the terms she, he, or they when speaking about souls or humans. I will try to make it clear which one I'm speaking about by the context in which it is used. Now that you know who we really are, let's look at where we normally live.